Hello, everyone. Welcome to Take Care. You are joining Morten and Sangha today, and we have two amazing people with us.
Yeah, welcome, Katie, Thorn, and Daniel Casson. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome two digital social care whizzes on board today in this episode. Katie, tell us a bit more about who you are, please.
Thanks, Morten. Hi, Sangha. Really nice to be here today. So my name is Katie Thorn. I work for the Registered Nursing Home Association, but my main job is I project manage a project called Digital Social Care. Digital Social Care is a partnership project run by the Care Provider Alliance and funded by the NHS to provide free support and advice to adult social care providers across England around technology and information sharing more broadly. And I work very closely with Daniel on that.
Good. Daniel.
Hi, Morten. Hi, Sangha. Hi, Katie. It's great to be with you. Looking forward to the Tech Care podcast. I'm Daniel Casson. I am Digital Development Advisor for Care England and work very closely with Katie as part of Digital Social Care. So the first thing all of you have to do is go to www.digitalsocialcare.co.uk for a plethora of information. And I work with as a consultant in digital social care, working with people such as Langbuisson on conferences and innovation, and we're just with providers and innovators in care to really rejuvenate and try and to make care more reactive and more for what people want. So that's where I am at the moment, Morten Sangha.
That sounds good. So, because you're in the mix of everything then now, as it seems, tell us what's absolutely hot. What are you doing right now?
Coming to me, I'm a lot on how people use their data. Data is the king. There's so much data that we're starting to generate, and it's often been said in social care that we don't have the figures and the background to back up what we're doing and back up the successes. And it's so important that the data that we're now starting to collect comes through in the analysis of the data that we've got, so that we can actually see where to give data for two reasons: to give the best care for people, the best quality of life for people, and to make sure that the care we're giving is given in the best ways. So I'd like to throw open that to you, Sangha, as well, because I know you're very involved in some of the stuff around data and some initiatives, or Katie as well.
Absolutely, and we are doing a piece of work together with Katie, with yourselves, and Sukanya from Invicta IQ. The whole concept of data cafe, and it's just being launched as we speak. So our first session, real session, will be in May, around 18th of May. That's the plan. But I'd love to hear from you, Katie, around why you think data cafe is something that is needed by the sector at this point of time.
Yeah, what's a data cafe really?
Yeah, so the Data Cafe is a peer learning network and experience where people from the sector can come together to talk about innovation, but also about the barriers and the problems that we're facing, and talk about data in its broadest sense from the sector for the sector. I think why I was really excited to get involved in when Sangha first approached me with this sort of topic was there's a lot of conversation in nationally in like the Department of Health and Social Care or Office for National Statistics that, we don't have enough data in social care. We need more data for central government to know what's going on. And I spoke to lots of care providers who are going, we've got this data and that, but we don't talk to each other about it. So, let government have this conversation up here, but actually as providers, as care workers, as people receiving care and support, that's the data that we're using every day that can really improve the quality of care in people's lives and well-being. So let's have those conversations ourselves. Let's open up that opportunity to learn from our peers and to really network in that way. So yeah, really looking forward to the launch next month. What was the date again, Sangha? I'm sorry, it's completely gone from my mind.
Yeah, 18th of May, and even though it's clashing with the big event that's happening, with the whole big digital debate as well, but it's in the evening from 6 p.m. So yeah, we really hope that it's going to add
Can I
quite a value.
can I add one thing in there about the importance of data being that it's the oil that drives the integration between health and social care as well. So it really smooths, because once we've got the data, we can then be shared, and then we have to work very carefully to make sure that there is open platforms, open APIs between the different data systems, so that the best information about a person can be with them as well, so that they get the best care. So it's going to be essential if we really want to participate from the care side in the integration model that's being put forward.
Absolutely, that's so well said, Daniel. And I will steal that quote from you, and probably that would go in one of the feeds, that oil data is the new oil between health and social care.
Actually, a phrase I did hear from someone. They said that data is the new doctor, which is quite interesting, because how data is used to help analyze situations. So data is the new
Yes.
oil, data is a new doctor. We can all make these sort of these vague claims, but I think we've got to work with them.
Yeah.
Only if it is refined well in case of an oil, and only if the doctor is really set their mind in taking care of the patients. Sorry, don't quote me.
That's true. Is it only me then who's thinking, what's the cafe? Not saying data isn't interesting, but what's the cafe? Because I like a good cafe.
Yeah, so the cafe concept came, it's a spin of the word, because data in itself can be quite dry and quite, hard as a word in the sector, because we often don't like talking about data. Even though there is a lot of data, like Katie was mentioning, we are still data uncertain, because we don't know what we are capturing, we don't know why we are capturing, and we don't know how to use them. So it's kind of a journey where it's like a cafe concept, where you come, you meet with like minds, you have a little bit of drink, you bring your own drink, and you talk about a topic that hopefully will you become more comfortable in talking about the data and understand how you could use them meaningfully. I see it as a journey from being data uncertain to data aware to data literate to data confident to a complete insight driven sector.
That makes
And
great sense.
when we talk about data, even though when you hear the word data, people often think it's all about the hard stuff. But I also believe that data is soft data as well. Your gut feel is very much soft data. How do you mix all those qualitative and quantitative data to help you guide your decision?
It's really interesting. I take a project which I've actually just put up for an award, a project which was done by the Manor community and co-produced Care in Bristol, where they actually took this what people were saying. So this is for mainly working with people with learning disabilities. So taking their natural language and then trying to analyze it. So data, right, is not just the hard facts and figures, but it's taking normal everyday language and trying to analyze. So in this case, it was using machine learning and AI to analyze what people were saying to reveal what they were going through. So in many cases, people with learning disabilities, for example, can't express as well the pain that they're in or the issues that they're having. So you have to go to other machine learning and AI to interpret that. So so data opens up so many fields in preventative care. We're all looking at being on the front foot, being proactive, and I think that we're starting to open the door to that.
Absolutely, absolutely, Daniel. We were talking about sensor technology sometimes ago, isn't it, Morton? And imagine a scenario where you are able to sense the behavior pattern and take preventive action. Be it prevention of UTI, through the hydration level in our residents' body and things like that. I think technology is going to change the sector for better in ways which we haven't thought before.
And what an example. I mean, natural language processing, such a
Exactly.
thing as a spell check on your Word document or anything, is actually as applicable in our sector as it is in whatever office work goes on where a spell check is
Yeah.
relevant and can help so much. I think that's a great example of how tech can help in social care.
Brilliant. And
Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Go on, Daniel.
Go, Katie. Go, Katie.
Oh, no, I wasn't coming
Katie,
in, actually.
are you there?
I am here. Hi, yeah. I mean, I think what's really...
So, I know you can edit this, I hope.
We can edit. And Katie, I wanted to ask you anything anyway, because I know that speaking of data, and we may not always have called it data, but I know that you've spent quite a long time of your life in a care home.
Yes.
How do you, or do you, perhaps it's the wrong way of phrasing it, but how has that changed over the years? What were the things you were looking at when you were growing up in a care home? I know you weren't professionally involved back then.
Yeah.
Do you
Yes.
think that has changed?
Yeah, absolutely. So for context for people who don't know who I am, my family have a care home. My grandparents started it in the 80s. My mum then ran it. So I've spent most of my life sort of growing up around a care home, have worked in a variety of different roles there. And we also, about 14 years ago now, moved from the original space to a purpose-built care home, and we made the choice to go fully digitized. So it was a very long journey going from sort of your very classic Victorian house, which had been converted to a residential home, to a purpose-built building. I think for me, I have sort of two main things which I noticed from that experience about which really changed. The first was you don't really know until you start on the journey how far you can go. We kind of started out quite a simple concept of saying, okay, well, we've digitized payroll because no one wants to use those giant ledgers that my grandfather used to sit at the dining room table with on a Sunday to do payroll anymore. And what else can we do? And then digitized care planning, and then suddenly went, oh, and we can do this with medication. And then we were told, oh, and also, your care recording system can give you alerts if somebody's sort of weight has changed a small amount, or if somebody's sort of different measures we could put in. And it just sort of expanded massively from what we thought was going to be, oh, we'll still do the same processes all of the time. It'll just be quicker to write it digitally, to actually going, actually, this is a fundamental change to how we're approaching a lot of the care that we're doing. And it's a journey we're going on with our staff and with the people we're supporting. So I think that was one thing. The other bit, which I was really blown away by, was some of the ways in which technology really empowered staff who had been there for a really long time in ways we hadn't expected. It's quite a rural community. We had long-term staff who'd been with us for sort of 20 years. I think some of them know me from when I was in nursery school, to be honest, who are still there now. And they had never wanted to progress, and because they said, oh, well, we don't feel particularly comfortable with doing like an NVQ, and I don't feel great with writing. But actually, when we went through this process of them using technology and using mobile phones to record care, they had spell check all of a sudden, or they could be using like emojis to sort of record some of the care icons. They could also do voice notes as well, as opposed to having to write. And then we had people going, oh, okay, well, actually, that I feel really confident in that. So if I could then progress to being a senior carer, or to doing this, or taking on more responsibility, it kind of really empowered people in a way we really hadn't expected, but I think can be really meaningful.
Those are just brilliant examples. And I think sometimes we've seen, or over the years I've heard, like data and digital being the opposite of what people want or have been doing. But here it's got that real effect of empowerment. That's really good. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
What we're talking about in the build-up about the culture of the organisation, what Katie exemplified there is how it can, you always want to retain the same culture of your organisation you've built up, but also recognise that there are new ways of doing things. So, but going digital isn't just doing what you used to do more efficiently. It's actually innovating in new ways, thinking of how technology can actually improve the care that you're giving in some way. That's what we've got to look at. It's interesting on this one that so much of what we're doing now is influenced by what's happening at what happened at NHSX, now the NHS Transformation Directorate, which was focused, has focused people's minds very much on what the major issues they're looking at are the digital social care records, and initially to try and make sure that they're prevalent in the in social care, and the aim, the target there is for 80% of care providers to have digital social care records by March 2024. And if you look at your local integrated care systems, there will be mechanisms in there to help you. So that's something that people should be looking out for. And they're also now focusing on realizing how, when I used to be a business development manager at a care home, I knew if you got two things right, you were looking at a very good business model. One was if you actually recruitment and retention were the staff were working well, and also if you could minimize the number of falls. And so, since the second thing that the NHS Transformation Directorate in digital social care is encouraging is new networks that actually can help prevent falls. And this leads into a whole when I said the issues that are happening in social care. One is about the data. The other one is there's so many monitoring systems that we can now employ, and this to actually proactively care for people. That I think more and more people will become more conversant with the possibilities of monitoring care non-invasively, but to help people live a better quality of life. And I think that's a very interesting market, interesting solutions that are coming through at the moment. Trying to think people trying to think differently.
Absolutely, and I think that is the maturity of technology for the sector as well, because that's how technology often enters in any sector, isn't it? It looks at the back office processes first, very much focus around efficiency, productivity increase, cost cutting, but then slowly it matures into the front end, how you are creating options and opportunities to use technology for improving the lives of the people we care, and also for our employees.
Yeah, definitely. I have a dictum that we talk about digital transformation being a change management program, and any change that you're going through has to provide value. There's no reason for going through change if it's not going to provide value for you somehow. And I have a value sort of system of saying the digital transformation has to provide value in one of three areas or a mixture of the areas. One, it's got to provide value for the person that we're caring for. Secondly, it's got to provide value for the organisation that's providing the care and organising the care. And thirdly, provide value for the integrated care system if it can oil those wheels. So this is why we talk about the data. So if any digital transformation that you're looking at on a strategic level, you can go back to basics and say, well, is it going to create value for the organisation? Monetary, financial, resources, quality of life. Those are the sort of factors that you have to be looking at when you're assessing new technology, new digital transformation, new ways of working.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that eventually, will free up more time, more space for better care, to deliver more better care. And one thing that I always wanted to emphasize is it's not just the people whom we care for. It's very much also about the employees who are providing that care.
Yeah.
Because if we can't extend that care to the employees, then perhaps we are not providing a holistic service to the sector.
That's true. Got to think about the what's in it for me, like Katie's example before. There was something actually in it for those people working in that home, Katie. So that's good. Daniel, you mentioned digital social care, and you're both involved. What can people possibly get out of working with you guys? If I go onto the website, there's a plethora of information. What do you want people to do there?
We want it to be a constantly growing resource which we develop in conversation with people in the sector to answer basic questions and more complicated ones about a range of digital technologies. So we have a couple of different areas we're prioritizing at the moment. One of our core programs is the Better Security, Better Care program, which is all around supporting people to improve their data protection and cybersecurity practices. As we're using more technology, obviously there's more risks involved from a cyber point of view. We want to be a support mechanism for that and helping people to complete the data security and protection toolkit where they're integrated into the NHS, and that's a requirement. We're also working very closely with NHS Transformation Directorate's Digitising Social Care Records programme, which Daniel mentioned before, where they have the target of 80% of social care providers having a digital care record by 2024. So we do a lot of case studies, which we call success stories, of people who are already using these systems to try and show some of the benefits, but also share learning from people who've gone through this process already in the sector. And we also host the Assured Supplier List, which is a list of different care software companies who've been accredited by a standard by the NHS to be able to integrate into NHS software. And a new area, which we think will probably be our main focus for the next at least quarter, but maybe 6 months, is the digital skills framework, which is recently being completed by Skills for Care, which has got 7 themes of the main digital skills areas that both frontline care staff and sort of managers might want to look into if they're looking at doing more digital career pathways or using digital more within the sector. Daniel, I've probably missed something. Is there anything else I should add in?
No. I mean, there's so much on there. There's
Yeah.
For example, there's template policies. There's that you can adopt. There's lots of information about where to go for certain piece of information, linking you into government portals. It's also I think the first point of call when you're looking at any procurement of any digital transformation. So, Katie, I don't think you missed anything. I think we could market it because it really is a centre for everyone in social care to refer to. So Morten, you were right to bring it up, and it will develop over the next years.
Sure, and it's free. I should have said for everyone.
And the other thing is there is a helpline for any provider to be able to go to digital social care. You can even give the number if you want, Katie, I think. But there is a helpline for people to phone for any issue you have.
Get that in the notes for this episode for sure, because it is truly, and we're Sangha and I, we're fans, of course, but it's, if you were looking at adopting new technologies, all in all, whatever's got to do with digital and social care, that's where you should start. So very soon, it's May, or it is May, and we're all going, hopefully, because I want to see you guys going to the Health Plus Care at the London Excel. And I think we've got coming up there is an Oxford-style debate, and it's really about, do you or do you not believe that we are on the verge of a digital revolution? Is digital transformation happening in social care now? And I'm going to ask you too now the same question, because then we have a kind of a feel for what you're thinking before the debate. So starting with you, Katie, are we there now?
Yes, but also I feel like we've been on a digital revolution for several years now. I don't think it's just starting. So I think it's speeding up now and it's sped up massively during COVID. But it's not that things weren't happening before. There's been lots of innovation. That's probably where I'd say.
That's a good answer. You're truly right. There is and has been lots of innovation going on earlier.
I think we are on the verge of we're on the verge of the maturity of the market. I think, as Katie said, COVID has accelerated what's happened by 5 or 10 years, and we've made jumps because we've had to be reliant more on technology. And I think, as ever, a necessity being the mother of invention and creation, we've created new ways of working over COVID. So what we have to do is try and take what we can from what we've achieved over COVID, and just take not take our foot off the gas, take a little bit step back and say, okay, how is the new way of working? How are we going to fit in to ensure that we incorporate these new ways of working, but don't lose that personal touch that we have, but don't lose the face-to-face having a cup of tea with someone, which is so important in social care. So that balance for me is going to be one of the biggest issues over the next few years.
you're so right. There's definitely a tipping point there where you need to not focus too much on being a robotics house, but being a care home or a care service. That's true.
But yeah, I think it's really exciting. We're going to be trying. People are going to be trying new things, and I think that's really exciting because they've seen. Because as Katie said, people you didn't expect to take easily to new technology in the care sector have taken to it, and they're excited by it, and they're the ones that are actually championing the new ways of working. We had with the Care England, we had one provider. I can mention Canford Healthcare, where the leader of their transformation just showed the different ways, for example, how they use Microsoft 365 in new and exciting ways, just adapting what's out there. And that's also a market that'll come on, is commercially available software, commercially available hardware being used in care as well. So not adapting to use of people who are more dependent than others.
Thank you. I am taking that as 2 yeses, by the way, for that question.
Well, good qualified yeses, Morten. Qualified yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Do they have any option, Morten?
No, there is no option in a way, because it is the way forward, and that will people to get the best service. People expect there to be a level of their own of care which they can actually be in charge of. So part of what we're talking about is the digital journey is empowering people to be inputting, organizing, arranging, being the center of their own care.
Absolutely. Very well said there, Daniel. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Katie. Thank you very much, Daniel. It was a lovely, lovely discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.